Welcome back to day two of Survive and Thrive Cancer Recovery Conference. And this is our 5th year. So thank you all for joining today. A little introduction about myself and talk about cancer advocacy. So give me one moment as I share my screen. Okay, so a little bit about myself. I'm a Navy veteran, served active duty for 12 years. And during that time, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I'll go a little bit into that in another slide. Currently, I'm living in Tomball, Texas, and I work in nonprofits. And one of the things that we think about when it comes to advocacy is usually it starts with something that you're passionate about. So whether something happened to you directly or a family member of yours, that usually jumpstarts like a passion or something that you want to advocate for. It could be for advocating for children in foster care, women with heart disease, or just, anyone dealing with AIDS. So how I started with advocacy, I was just moved to Washington State, and there was 3 things that I realized that were affecting women at the time. And the top 3 was AIDS, HIV, heart disease, and breast cancer. But little did I know, the organization that I got connected to was called Tiger Lily Foundation. And that was founded her name is Mae McCarmo. She was diagnosed at a young age. So I was working behind the scenes for that organization, and I was looking at all the information and materials that they were sharing. And it was saying how young women are getting cancer more and more. So I was getting educated on that. And then at the same time, I was back and forth with the doctor with my own health issues at the time. So I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer at 29 years old on active duty in the Navy. There is a picture there. I don't know why it's not popping up, but probably have to show it at the end. But during that time, I didn't know what I was doing, but I was literally advocating for my own health. So the doctor, he was saying, take these pills for swelling. You're too young. It's not cancer. It can't possibly be cancer. And plus cancer doesn't cause any pain. And as you know, when you're back and forth at the hospital dealing with doctors, nothing is looking the way it used to look 20 and 30 years ago. You have some teenagers who are getting diagnosed with breast cancer. So with me, it wasn't anything different. It was, I'm 29, I have all the symptoms. So I pushed to get additional testing done. I had to advocate and fight for an additional test. The doctor, I don't know why he was so adamant with, no, it's not cancer. No, it's not cancer. And I had to go back to him a couple of times and say, hey, look, I don't care what you're telling me. You're just not going to physically look at me and tell me that it's not cancer. And thank God I kept pushing for that, because I probably wouldn't be here today if I wasn't, pushing for a test. So when it comes to advocating, it could be something as small as that, as pushing your doctors to listen to you. And right now with health and health equity, inclusion and all of that, Black women, they tend to listen to us less than our Caucasian women. There are studies out there on this, and there's different movements to kind of help change the narrative to get doctors to listen to Black women. So I was advocating for myself, like literally pushing, like, give me the test, give me the test. So he finally did, and it turns out to be stage 3, and it was at an advanced level than most thought it would be. And that's because I waited to go. I hesitated on my own health. With women, we know our bodies. You have to listen to your gut feeling when it's telling you, hey, get there, like put your health first above anything else. This right here is one of the many different ways that I got involved with the American Cancer Society. First, it started out was just relaying, and relay was just, I thought it was a short walk, but it's 24 hours actually. So you walk a track and you're just honoring those who have cancer, those who passed away from it. So this photo right here is just, they're recognizing all survivors, and they did a couple of laps around the track. And it was good to get there and connect, because there were other people who, as you can see, I'm the only Black lady in the front, but my duty is to say, you know what, we have to, if we want to be included and have trials and medicines that can benefit us, then we have to at least show up. Or if you don't know how to show up, then just ask around if you see other women like in those spaces, especially with the American Cancer Society. Although we may not think that we're included, but once you pull back the curtain, they're starting to change and welcome and include everyone. I got with all of my treatment. I was very fortunate that I did not see a bill for anything, and that was solely because I was part of the U.S. Navy, and they invested time and money to get me healthy and get me back to my next duty station. But it didn't work out. I ended up getting separated, and I had to navigate the Department of VA healthcare, which has gotten a lot better than what I would hear stories from previously, but I was able to do it. They were able to give me great care, and I'm so thankful for it and all the follow-up care that I've been receiving. But it was kind of like an easy transition for me to sign up with the American Cancer Society, because they have all the templates there for you to send an email to my local lawmaker. And it was something as simple as, hey, we need you to co-sponsor this bill so that you can remove the barriers to people getting colorectal cancer screenings. Now, when you hear all this information, you're like, wait, HR 1946, what is this? What is that? But you get the education piece. There's plenty of trainings ahead of time so that, yes, now I'm passionate about cancer, and especially with it being in young women and Black women. So how can I show up and do my part to use my voice now that I've been in remission 12 years, and I knock on wood, I make sure, I take care of my overall health just so I can be in remission another 12 years. But there's always that fear. But in the meantime, how can I use my voice to show up and to help others? And one way of doing that for me was joining the American Cancer Society. Now, it's two different parts to that. You have ACS, which is, they do the relay, the making strides, the look good, feel better program. And then the other arm is the legislation part of it, where we go in front of local lawmakers and then on the federal level to ask for different bills that help better the life of someone dealing with cancer. So this photo here is group of women from Texas. And if you see, I'm the only Black lady there. And I was shocked at first, like, wait a minute, Texas has a population of everyone. Why am I the only one? But I didn't know the type of work that I was doing at the time, just being in it. But, it made me feel good that at least I'm here representing someone who looks like me from the state of Texas and states around the US. So every year, and we had to do this virtually due to the pandemic. So the last 2 years, this has been done virtually all over something similar like Zoom, but a different platform. And we have our meetings with our lawmakers. This year, it was increased cancer funding for research. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but the Medicare multi-cancer early detection screening, since the pandemic has started, people have not been going to the doctor to get their screenings. And the studies are going to show that 5 years from now, more and more people are going to be diagnosed at later stages with cancer across the board, just because they skipped that one colonoscopy or they skipped that mammogram. And it could be they're just scared of the pandemic. They don't want to go to the doctors. They lost their health care. But this multi-cancer early detection screening is going to kind of make it easier for patients to get to the doctors and get those screenings. And whether it's colon, skin cancer, breast cancer, all those different screenings are going to be available and have easier access to those. And the Affordable Care Act, many people have their opinion on it, but I hear some of the positives to it. Some people make too much money and can't get the affordable care, the ACA. And then you have those who are cancer patients who wouldn't have health care without the Affordable Care Act. So that's the positive that I see with it. But there are some tax credits that are going to expire at the end of 2022. And one of the things we asked for was Congress to make those permanent. So you get hit with a diagnosis, you don't have health insurance, you can opt in to get the affordable care. And that way you can have some type of health insurance to help, get treatment. That's easier said than done, but if you know someone who's dealing with that right now and they just cannot get anything, then you can reach out to your lawmaker in your local state or county to say, hey, this is what's going on and I need your help. And believe it or not, sometimes they help because they do have an office to help with those type of cases. This is kind of like the insight on ACS and ACS CAN and how they fit together. So the whole mission is to stay well, get well, find cures, and fight back. So as long as I'm a part of something that falls along this, and Shannon, I'm sure Survive and Thrive can, help with the community, plug into some of these different missions here. It's just going to be, a great resource to have for future cancer patients to come to Survive and Thrive. And we do, we advocate for better access to care. We do that every year. And in Texas is every 2 years. And it could be, I don't know what other state has every 2 years, but I think Texas is the only one that's different, where every 2 years their House sessions are in session. Because I am a woman veteran and I can relate to those veterans and active duty women, we are diagnosed with a higher rate of cancer than our civilian population. And that's due to all the environmental exposures that we have. I know, although it's not proven, but I have a gut feeling that if I go digging and get like an investigative journalist on it, there's a base in Groton, Connecticut. It's a submarine base. It's a nuclear base. It's one of the oldest bases on the East Coast. They have a lot of asbestos and a lot of radiation on that base. And I was, a year after I left, diagnosed with cancer. And then another person, my commanding officer, was also diagnosed with cancer a year later after leaving that base. So that was my environmental exposure. And access to care, although we're active duty, we don't see a bill. The fear for us is, all right, now that I'm out of the military, what does my healthcare look like? I got to get a good job or a government job. And for me, I didn't have those things. So luckily I had the VA, and Houston has a very good medical center. And they're right in the heart of the Texas Medical Center. So I was okay. But for those rural VA clinics, it's kind of difficult to navigate that when you're dealing with cancer and your aftercare. For women veterans, I want to create a network where, we can be a support to someone else, and then just share my experiences navigating through the VA healthcare. So this is kind of like a t-shirt that I started wearing just for me, but I would love to connect with other women veterans to let them know that, hey, going through the VA is not that difficult. You just got to talk to the right people and be led in the right direction. Like, I don't want them to feel like they have to just go in there blindly, because it can be intimidating and overwhelming, and you just don't want to deal with it. So this right here is me in the Texas State Capitol building. The screenshot next door, like if you all are on the call today, on the Zoom today, and you don't know, or you want to figure out, all right, who represent me, there's a website. You can literally type in a quick Google search to say who represents me, put in your address, and it'll tell you who your state senators are, who your US senators are, and your state representatives. I've moved, so this is going to update for me, but if you're curious, I could put the website in the chat once I stop sharing my screen, just so you are aware of who represents you based on your address, where you're currently living. And last but not least is, remembering small successes when it comes to advocacy. I know for a lot of us, cancer can bring sadness, but it can also bring about change and some form of happiness. And we just have to find it. I've been volunteering for like 7 years now, and every year I go to DC. Yes, the lawmaker has their own agenda, but I have my agenda too. I have my concerns as one of their constituents. Cancer is a passion of mine. Yes, I had it, but I don't want my nieces, to get it, or I don't want to say the word grandkids because I'm not ready for that. But for others who have grandkids, like I'm sure Shannon don't want her grandkids to ever have to deal with cancer. So let's increase this funding for research. A lot of labs were shut down during the pandemic. They're starting to come back now, but these researchers are getting better packages to go overseas to work in like all the other countries, except for in the US, just because we're slow to fund them. Like a researcher needs funds to work on that cutting drug or on the whatever they're working on that can possibly cure something. But if they don't have the funds to run that lab, they shut it down. Work is just sitting on the shelf, or they take those findings and where they are and they go overseas. So if you guys have any overseas connections, Switzerland, all these other different countries, they are right there where they need to be. That's why they have better healthcare than the US and just better access to care, because they're snatching our US researchers and going to Canada. So we want to keep them here. I'll keep doing my part in fighting with the American Cancer Society. And there's other organizations that you all can be involved with. I know for Texas, there's Sisters Network. They're the only national African-American breast cancer foundation. You have Susan G. Komen National Breast Cancer Coalition. Like there's so many, but just do a quick Google search in your area to see, it could be something as simple as sending an email and attaching your name to it and kind of personalizing it to send to Senator, I don't know, for me to be Senator Cruz, who I've met. And, whether you like the party or not, we are bipartisan. We can't go in there and say, I'm a Democrat, you got to help me, or I'm a Republican, so you're going to sign it. No, We are bipartisan. I don't care what party you're affiliated with. I know the common denominator we're trying to fight is cancer. So I need your attention. I need it now. And it's getting better, but we have a lot of work to do. And we need other volunteers who can potentially become passionate about it too, or are already passionate about it. They just don't know where to put their voice in this fight. So I'll put some information in the chat. That's all I have for you all today. If you have any questions, I'm open to take them now, or you can send me an email and we can chat offline. And I will stop sharing. There was a couple of photos that did not pop up, but I'll put them in the chat if I can. All right. Did I stop sharing? Yes. Are there any questions?
I have one question. You mentioned going to the doctor several times, trying to convince him just to go beyond the normal testing. Thankfully, the doctors I have are listeners. They do listen to you. But if you do run up on a doctor who just tends to like listen to him or herself talk more so than the patient, I'm just curious as to what prompted you not to seek another physician. Did you not have a choice, or?
Well, in the military, you're very limited on what doctors you can see. So what I end up doing was, as soon as I left out of his office the first time, I immediately got on the phone. I knew what if he prescribed me for swelling, I wasn't going to take it. So I got on the phone. It's a general number that the military call for a sick call, and it'll automatically generate me to somebody. And just so happened he was the doctor that I got the next time. I didn't have anyone specifically chosen. It was just the next available appointment, and they assigned me. And just my luck, I got the same guy, the same doctor. He was a civilian doctor. He wasn't like a military doctor working there. So I don't know what that was about, but that second time I saw him, it may have even been a third time, but I literally slammed my hand on the desk. It was like, look, you can't keep telling me that. And he was like, oh, someone's serious about, yes, you darn right, I'm serious about my health. And for those that don't take it that far, like bring someone with you who will cut a rug, as they say in the South, that will show the doctor, hey, you need to listen to her. Like bring someone with you that can advocate for you or be that voice, stern voice for you. But in the military, that's how it went for me. If I would have pushed for someone else, then maybe, but at that time I was just getting there. I didn't know any of the doctors, and for some reason it just automatically assigned me to him. And then Nurse Jean said something in the chat. Okay. Yes. And you can ask for referrals for providers outside the military network. I was on an Army base and I was new there, and I was Navy. So I didn't know where to go, who to turn to. And I was in the middle of just, someone needs to see me now. So going back, yes, I probably should have took different avenues or different routes, but at that time, I just wanted to get seen. And eventually it happened, but it took maybe a month and a half, but I got it done. But I will say this, I know I was kind of like, processes were improved after my case. And I know for a fact, because I had some civilian friends that worked in that hospital who talked about, you know, after you left, this happened and that happened, and it's no longer this way or that way. So I'm kind of glad it kind of went down for me like that, because if, you know, it was going to happen with me or with the next one. And I'm glad that it's better after me.
I have
Thank
a
you.
question.
Thank you.
Yes.
I have a question. This is Alicia. Actually, I have a bunch of questions, but I'll just try to stick to one or two. So after you had to advocate to your physician about your situation, and then he said, "Oh, she's serious" or whatever, did anything happen to him? Was he held accountable to some type of standards? And my other question is, during your journey, because I noticed, like, when you were doing your presentation earlier, and you were saying, like, you're the only one, and we're always usually the only one. So during your journey, have you been contacted by other, I'm just gonna say Black women who have not found a voice, and they like reached out to you?
Yes. So the first part of that question, that doctor, he no longer worked there. I don't know what happened in the notes, but I was truthful in how I got to the biopsy place, and he did not work there 2 weeks after that. So they got rid of him. And I kind of felt like he was on his way out the door anyway. So they took care of him. The second part, yes, other Black women, and it's unfortunate that the Black women that did contact me were diagnosed with breast cancer themselves. So because they would see my post on social media and what I went through, the questions came, well, I have cancer now. What did you do at this point? How did you handle it there? My door is always open. So if anyone else, and it just be random people sometimes just reach out on Facebook or social media. My family knows what I do. So they'll say, hey, you should talk to my sister. And old military supervisors, they've reached out. They give out my phone number. So yes, I've been contacted to help in that way, whether it's for, similar issues with the surgery or just want to talk, to say, hey, what's going on? Why is this the way it is? So the next person I'm going to introduce. So Jean Turner is a retired Army and Iraqi war veteran. Thank you for your service. She is the best-selling author and global speaker, and also a holistic health nurse coach. She is a licensed minister, and she has she's a radio host and podcast host, and the CWO of Spirit of a Warrior Life Enterprises, LLC. Without further ado, take it away.
Thank you, Latina. I hope you all can hear me. Thank you so much. Thank you, Shannon. I appreciate the opportunity to be here on your platform, on this awesome platform, the opportunity to serve. Greetings, everyone. I am Jean Turner. You've heard my bio. I want to thank Latina for her service as well. And to all of you who may be veterans, thank you all for your service. And so I'm going to come from a little different perspective today. I don't use the word survivor. I say thriver, conqueror. I've gone through a cancer diagnosis, my own cancer journey a couple of years ago. Was not breast cancer. My testimony, my story is they found a spot on my lung, and it was too small for them to biopsy at the time. It's the size of a pinpoint. So they followed it for a couple of months, still didn't grow. And then suddenly, when I thought that I no longer had to see the oncologist who was monitoring this spot, that's when I got the news after that scan that it did indeed grow from a little pinprick spot to almost 3 centimeters. Large enough to biopsy. They did, and they told me it was malignant. I was on active duty at the time too. And so there's a whole process. So I totally understand where Latina is coming from. My journey was not quite as hers was with the military, and that can be for a lot of reasons, probably a different branch, maybe different rank. And the fact that I am a nurse and worked in the very hospital where I sought care at. and I was able to be my own advocate. And so when I told my primary care provider, send me out, I want to go out to us in the civilian network, she did not hesitate to write the referral to send me out to the civilian oncologist. So I am grateful for that. But my journey, as long as I've been a nurse, my personal journey, I've been a nurse now for almost 35 years, but it wasn't until I went through that diagnosis that I began to rethink everything I knew about the healthcare system, everything that I thought about what health and well-being was before I reached that point. Because it wasn't until then that I actually had to be on the receiving end of healthcare. Yes, I've taken care of patients over the years, gave them the best care I could. I even took care of some oncology patients back in the day while I was stationed in Fort Gordon, Georgia, Augusta, Georgia. But it was not until I heard the words that none of us ever want to hear in our lives, right? It's malignant. It wasn't until then that I began to rethink everything I thought about health, healing, and one's well-being. Because see, for years, I thought I can outrun a bad diet. Here I was in the military, this whole army chick with the downrange to Iraq and back. Here I was thinking for years, I can out-exercise and outrun a bad diet. For years, I thought that me running and being in the gym all the time was going to, yes, it does help with stress, but only to a certain extent. There's other ways that we have to manage life from day to day. And as our sister so eloquently said yesterday, yes, CK there, I don't know if you're apostle, pastor, forgive me if I get your title wrong, but health is more than just what we eat. She said it so eloquently yesterday. And so it wasn't until I went through my personal cancer journey that I realized all of this, that our lifestyle, not only what we eat, but how we move our bodies, are we even moving our bodies, okay? How we manage stress. Are we mindful? Are we taking time to be still? Or are we so busy grinding, right? Because many of us are entrepreneurs. Many of us have careers. We're moms. We have children at home. Or we're GMAs and we got the grandkids with us. Whatever it is, we get so caught up in day-to-day life and the grind. I call it the grind. But are we taking the time to really take care of ourselves, to practice self-care? Look, as the sister said yesterday, self-care is not selfish. It is necessary. So I began to see my health as I was walking through chemotherapy and everything that comes with a cancer diagnosis. I began to see it from a holistic, in other words, a whole person, whole body approach, because we are more than the sum of our parts. We got a physical body, our mind, our emotions, our spirit man, which is really the most important, according to Nurse Coach Jean. We have our relationships, right? How we socialize with others, those relationships that we have with others. Are we still holding on to those relationships that no longer serve us? Look, our professional well-being, i.e., in other words, our occupational health, our financial well-being, because as many of you know, a sickness period, to be sick costs money. And look, cancer, did y'all know that one cancer treatment alone can cost up to $150,000? So our financial well-being, and look, let's be real, okay? If you were as sick as I was walking through cancer treatments, thank God I was in the military, because I could not work for those really over a year. I could not work. Supposing I was not, and I had to work, outside of the military, look, I couldn't work. So I wouldn't have had money, let alone the insurance to pay for all of that. So our financial well-being, our sexual health and well-being, all of these wellness domains play a role in our overall health and well-being. So I call it life by design, because we get to choose how we design our life. Some people call it lifestyle balance, work-life balance, however, whatever you want to classify it and call it, it's still balance. And what I say all the time to my clients and on the radio and stuff, an imbalance in any one of these wellness domains creates this harmony throughout our entire being, or imbalance, because our bodies were created to be in a constant state of balance, a constant state of equilibrium, and any disruption to any one area in our bodies creates this disharmony. It can create illness and disease in our body, or dis-ease, which then I'm referring to our mental health, our emotional health. And so the truth of the matter is, many of us, cancer is beyond us, right? We're healthy and healed now, but the journey doesn't stop once one rings the bell, which signifies the end of cancer treatments. It does not stop once somebody finishes radiation or no longer has to take the chemotherapy pills or whatever treatment your medical team prescribed for you. It doesn't stop there. Beyond cancer, now more than ever, we've got to take care of our total body, mind, body, soul, spirit, all of those wellness domains, right? And check this out. Equal care and attention must be given to every wellness domain. For too many years, I just ran all these marathons and stuff. In the Army, they make you do physical training all the time. I thought that was the end all be all because I was healthy. I was on no medications, nothing. And then suddenly my life was turned upside down when that doctor said it's malignant. That tumor in my lung is malignant. And so lifestyle balance, we have to begin to take a holistic approach to our health, whether you're still walking through cancer treatments or whether you're beyond cancer. Think, what can I do differently now? And it's not rocket science, right? Healthcare is a over $72 billion industry. And they make it seem so hard, right? Take this supplement. No, you should do this diet. Be vegan. Go keto. Wrap a band around your waist when you exercise and stand on your head. Do all this stuff, right? Because they're trying to sell something. However, it's not that hard. It is not rocket science. The truth of the matter is health during cancer and beyond. Oh my God, it is so simple. There's a simplicity to it. And what it involves is, yes, what we put in our bodies. Yes, nutrition does play a role, right? It plays an important role. All the antioxidants and the nutrients and minerals and vitamins and all that good stuff, right? But it's not the end all be all. We also have to become cognizant of what we put on our bodies, because there's so many chemicals in a lot of the products that we are using. I did a whole study on this on the days when I was too weak to do anything, when I was walking through my cancer journey. I did a whole study on environmental things in our environment, in our homes, things we put on our bodies. So look, we need to be cognizant of that as we go forward beyond cancer. How we move. Are we even moving our bodies? Are we sitting around all day? Research has shown exercise is key. Even if you sit at a desk at work all day, there's still ways you can move your body, right? You can do leg raises at your desk. Then you can get up every 50 minutes. You need to be getting up from your desk and moving around for 10 minutes every hour while you're at work. These are things that we have to be cognizant of and be consistent with it. Consistency is key. How we sleep, our sleep routine is important. How we rest and recover, because our cells rejuvenate Overnight, our cells develop, they rejuvenate overnight while we sleep. New cells are developing, right? The connections we make, our relationships, the relationships we build, and finding time. Don't work all the time. The grind gonna be there tomorrow, but you may not. Someone near and dear to you may not. We've got to take time out to spend with those we love, to laugh, have fun. There's plenty of days I've left the radio station and have gone to the park and gone for my walks and have gotten on the swing and swung in the swings like I used to do when I was a kid growing up in New York, because it's fun and it's time out for me so that I can renew my mind for what I still have to do. But the work is going to still be there. It's okay to take a couple of minutes to pray, meditate, practice some mindfulness, go for a walk. Why? Because this work is still going to be there later on or the next day. And so all of these things going forward, life by design, we are given choices. God has given us the gift of choice. What are you going to choose to do now if you are still walking through a cancer journey and beyond cancer? And last but not least, that goes for the caregivers. If you are a caregiver, someone you know is a cancer caregiver, my hat's off to every caregiver, but there's something different about a cancer caregiver because it's a different type of journey. And even though the caregiver is not the one experiencing the physical manifestations, you are still walking through that journey mentally, emotionally, spiritually, in every wellness domain. You've got to take care of yourself as well. And so I think my time is about up. I'm not long-winded anyway, but begin to think lifestyle, health and wellness starting now and going forward must be a lifestyle. And it only takes making small, simple steps, one step at a time, one day at a time, consistently will bring about great changes if you just stick with it and be consistent. I am Nurse Coach Jean Turner from here in Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you so much again, Shannon, for allowing me to be a part of this awesome platform. And I want to stay connected with this platform because there is so much work to do and there's so much awareness and education that needs to go forward. Peace and health to you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nurse Coach Jean. That's amazing. All right, I'm going to introduce the next speaker, Dr. Manvi. She is a licensed naturopathic medical doctor in the state of California. She is the co-owner of Origin Health Center. In there, they provide a variety of different services for the community in general health care, nutritional intravenous therapies, hair and skin rejuvenation, weight loss management, and prolotherapy. And from what I remember last year, Dr. Manvi gave some great information. So ladies and gentlemen, you may want to grab a notebook and a pen because she is full of information. Dr. Manvi, the floor is yours.
I'm Dr. Manvi. I've known Shannon for 15 years. I used to work with her. She was my manager. When I was going to medical school, she was there the whole time checking up on me. So she usually invited me to these events, which I'm grateful to be a part of. So today I'm just going to be talking about naturopathic medicine. I'm a naturopathic doctor in Oakland. I've been practicing here in Oakland, California for 6 years. Oakland, California in general have very restrictive scope of practice for naturopathic doctors. So there's only a few things that we could do out of everything that we were trained to do. I went to school in Arizona. We have full scope of practice in Arizona. It was great, but I wanted to come back to Oakland and be back with my family and be able to provide this form of medicine to the community. Because I think naturopathic medicine is very important. There's so little things that mostly everyone can do to improve our health. but not a lot of people know they have options. Especially minority, we don't feel, a lot of time we don't feel that confident or comfortable, discussing our health issue to our primary care doctor. But naturopathic medicine, we're trained to really spend time with our patients and listen to them and provide them with resources and guidance so that they can improve their health. So that's what I do at my clinic. I provide different care to patients. We do a lot of IV therapies. IV therapies are basically vitamins and minerals that drip into your veins, go directly into your blood, bypass digestion absorptions. So as soon as go into the body, it can be used immediately. So this is really grateful for people who have maldigestion or any gut issue that they cannot absorb food or vitamins and minerals. So it's a good way to get a boost, improve the immune system, get over any acute illnesses, or it's great for cancer patients as well. We do see a lot of cancer patients at our clinic. We don't really say that we treat cancer, but it's more like adjunct therapy because it's very supportive. When patients go through treatment, they really fatigue and low in energy, so they would come in for high dose vitamin C and also regular Meyer cocktail, which gives them a lot of nutrients to kind of push through that period where they feel fatigued and tired and just not having a lot of energy. So that's what we do. IV is also great for mold detox. There's a lot of people who are infected with mold from the environment that they live in. The best way to get the mold out of the system, from my experience, is to go do glutathione IV push. Glutathione is an antioxidant. It's great for the liver to go through the detoxification process. So I do treat a lot of mold patients as well. Other than that, I do general health, just help patients, get back on track, bring their health into balance, because when things are out of balance, then you get sick. So what I would usually do with new patients is I take a look at basic lab, CBC-CMP, so basically red white blood cell, kidney liver function, look at their glucose level. I look at cholesterol level, thyroid panel. So I look at thyroid function, make sure everything's in range. And the one thing that I always run for every single patient is the vitamin D level, because 90% of the population are low in vitamin D. Most people don't know that vitamin D plays many crucial roles in the body, from your immune system to your bone health to energy level, hormones wise as well. So when your vitamin D is low, it's create a lot of dysfunction in the body. Optimally, you want your vitamin D level to be between 60 and 80. So far, most patients that I ran vitamin D level for between 15 and 30, so it's really low. And the best way to get vitamin D in is, of course, to take supplement, because yes, vitamin D is the vitamin that you get from the sun, but you would have to be in the sun for like an hour every day, 75% naked, in order to get the right amount of vitamin D. So, and then you don't get enough from food. So supplement-wise is the best way to get it in. We provide either capsule, liquid, or we do IM injection. So basically vitamin D injection into your muscle. And that's the best way to get the level up. A lot of patients, they start feeling better after they get up to the optimal level of vitamin D. Another one that I usually test for is A1C, which is to look at your glucose level within 3 months. And that will determine whether you have diabetes or not. But it's not just for diabetes. When that level is high, we will start working on adjusting your diet, because high carbs or high sugar diet is very, very inflammatory. So when you want to have better health, you want to make sure that you're not consuming too much sugar or too much carbs in general. So just having those basic numbers is very important. I recommend that everyone get those basic blood work done every year, at least once a year. Ideally, I like to run at least twice a year just to see where the levels and make sure things are in range. Other than that, at our clinic, we do a lot of other specialty testing, such as stool testing or food allergy testing, different hormone testing. All of those tests, mainly the conventional doctor, they do not run. So it's mostly out of pocket, but sometimes if you have like a really good insurance provider, they will cover those tests. But they give you a really good idea of what's going on within your body. A lot of people have a lot of symptoms like migraines or like a lot of GI issue, and they don't understand why they keep having it. And we would run a food allergy test, and we would see that they are allergic to like so many different kind of food. As soon as we remove those food that they're allergic to, automatically they start feeling better. So little things like that, you can just make adjustment to, but you have to know what's going on before you can make the changes. Little changes make a big difference in your health. The next thing I'm going to talk about is ketogenic diet. From my experience, a lot of people, when they want to lose weight, they can try out different diet, but so far what seems to be most effective for my patients and I are the keto diet. And when I talk about keto diet, I want to talk about the clean version of keto diet. So keto diet is basically you want to consume good fat, so high fat, medium protein, and very low carb. Generally, you want to stay, depend on your body weight, of course, your body composition, but typically under 50 grams of carbs a day. When you break down to fat, protein, and carb, they call those macros. So every one macro will be a bit different depending on your weight and your height. So once you get the number of your macro, then you can start adjusting to how much you should eat. But keto is so effective because what it does is when you eat keto, which means high fat, your body gets used to that high fat diet. And then what it does is turn into, basically your body become like a fat burning machine. So instead of usually turning to carb or sugar first at your first source of energy, it will start going to fat. So what it does is start burning your fat cell and for energy. And it's great when you do high fat, clean fat like coconut oil, olive oil, nuts, avocados. Those are really great, and they also are very anti-inflammatory. And a lot of time when people have a lot of issue in the body, it's usually because of inflammation, such as joint pain, muscle aches, or all these issues. A lot of time it's due to high inflammation. So when you get on keto diet, it's great because you reduce that inflammation by a lot. Not just that, you start dropping the weight, you start feeling better. Of course, I don't think that keto diet is something you should do long term, as in like forever, but it's a good short term to get to the ideal weight that you would like. So for me, when I started out the keto diet, it took me about 2 months to burn. So I started at 131 pounds, and within 8 weeks, I lost about 10 pounds of fat. I have a machine called a body composition analysis. So it scans your body and it tells you exactly how much muscle, how much fat, and how much water is in the body. So when you're using something like that, you can track like what are you actually losing? Are you losing fat? Are you losing muscle, or just water? So it gives you a very comprehensive idea of what's going on with your body. So with the keto diet, clean keto, I was just eating a lot of vegetable, a lot of good oil and nuts, macadamia nuts, cashew, almond nuts, and walnuts. Also pumpkin seeds and chia seeds, flax seeds. All of those are really good oil and a lot of fiber. I started feeling better. My skin also looked better, it's more glowing, it's smoother. Sleep was better. My cognitive function started being better too. My brain typically kind of feel foggy when I first wake up, but on keto, my brain was functioning a lot better. But most importantly, I had more energy. I didn't feel as hungry. I would be at work all day, and I usually, when I go to work, I don't eat. So basically fasting the whole day. So I would fast the whole day and just drink water, and at work all day, on my feet all day. And I never felt tired. It was really great. It helped me lose the weight that I wanted to lose. My family have a genetic of insulin resistant or diabetes. So being on a keto diet helps so much. My mother has hypertension, diabetes, and high cholesterol. And with lifestyle changes, mainly diet and supplement that I put her on, a lot of nutrient and herbs. And basically now the only medication that she's on is hypertension. Otherwise, I bring her off all her medications, which she's been on for like the last 25 years. She's doing a lot better. She lost her weight. I run blood tests for her regularly to check her level. And of course, her A1C, which is the diabetes level, had gone down, which was not improved when she was on metformin, the conventional medication for diabetes. She was on that for years, and it really didn't do anything for her. But keto brought that number down. Cholesterol level also went down, and I mean, her labs looks really good, which was amazing, based on just basically 2-3 months of keto diet. So I think keto is great just to get to the level or the ideal weight that you want, or a certain health balance that you would like to be in. And then after that, you can start adjusting your diet, maybe reincorporate more fruit into the diet, increase your carbs a little bit, but still when you eat carb, you want to make sure that you're consuming multi-grain, whole, like quinoa, brown rice, things like that. That's all healthier than white rice or white bread. So making little changes in your diet or in your lifestyle will make a big difference to your health. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Feel free to send me questions if anyone have any questions for me.
Thank you, Dr. Manvi.
Thank you. And of course, thank Coach Nurse Jean Turner and Dr. Manvi. Having just two folks in the medical field is great. To be able to help on the health of the 4 mindset, health, wealth, and recovery. And we definitely thank Elaine for being here because she's in our wealth department. But as Dr. Manvi said, she was one of my staff in an agency I worked at for 23 years ago. And when she told me that she wanted to leave and go be a doctor, I was like, okay, fine. If you want to leave and go be a doctor, then you have to be my doctor when you're done. So I'm gonna keep tabs on you. So, it turned out that, during her time when she was leaving and getting done, I ended up, telling her that, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I said, okay, now you have to be my doctor. So she did. She treated me and got me ready for surgery, and even afterwards. So definitely appreciating having someone close by that can definitely help with those things and check for things that we don't think of, or things or conventional medicines that you think you cannot access. That people who of wealth, they have access to know those things directly, to be able to talk with someone. So just getting in, just to keep in mind, just for everyone who's here, we have Nurse Coach Jean, we have Dr. Manvi. Usually you would have to pay to get this type of information from a doctor or a nurse that can help you and tell you information about your body or things that you're having. So this is kind of like, go see the doctor here at Survive and Thrive. Thank you very much. So just to keep in line with our schedule, we're gonna turn this on over to Michael Ellis.
Okay. Well, I want to start with a simple sentence. A lot of people don't know it, but God is a doctor. God is a doctor. And I'll explain what that means in a minute. I was listening to Coach Jean, and she inspired me to tell you this story about health. Many years ago, I think like a man, and men do not like to go to doctors. We just like to wait the problem and it'll go away. We go to the doctor at the last minute. So I remember a time when it was, I think 15, 16 days past, and I didn't use the restroom. So now I'm troubled. I'm like, okay, I've been eating for 15 days and there is an issue here, but I'm going to solve it myself. I got this. So I started Googling, what does this mean, and checking medical sites. And then 5 more days pass. And I'm putting all of this food in, but nothing is coming out. So I couldn't solve the mystery. So finally I decided, well, it's Kaiser time, because I went to buy this Chinese food And I said, this will work. If I eat all this Chinese food, I will go to the restroom. So I went to Kaiser and I explained what was going on with my health. And what he told me was very profound. I was in a very toxic relationship, of course. And he said, are you under a lot of stress? I said, yes. He said, did you know that the stress that you go through sends a chemical to your brain to control your intestines? So I was like, wait a minute. So basically, I'm giving another human being a remote control to my intestines. So they got the power to stop them, make them go. And that was a very scary concept, that another human can make your blood pressure go higher, lower. So I said, oh, this is how this works. So I went back and I took back my remote control. And I stopped handing my remote control to other people. And since that day, it's changed my perspective. So what Coach Jean was saying is that we let other people also control our internal organs to make our blood pressure, heart, and all of these organs move differently. So my message now is take back your remote. My brother, I think he was 48, he was diagnosed with hepatitis C. He went in healthy and they said, settle your affairs. You have 6 months. And he was like, whoa, like, I'm going to beat this. And so he started telling me, I'm going to go back into music. I'm going to travel. I'm going to do all of these things. And his brain was like, and as I looked in his eyes, I could see the jaundice, the yellowing, and he was like, I'm going to beat this. But from what I saw physically, this was not going to have a happy ending. And that taught me that after I went to his funeral, a track race would begin. I would run faster than I had ever run in life. So my message is, let your track race begin. And I lived more in those 2 years than I would have in 20 years if I didn't experience this firsthand. So when that day comes, they won't ask if he died. They will say, how much living did he do? So I'm going to start poetry at this point because 17 people in my family have died with one form of cancer or another. It's all I know, from diabetes, liver, prostate, colon. I don't know any of the major diseases that I haven't experienced in my young life. So firstly, I want to thank Sharon for inviting me here and all of the beautiful people that I'm blessed to speak to. At 17, I was writing in Los Angeles, and they told me that you are going to be one of the greatest poets that ever lived. And that was far too much weight for me. I didn't want it. That's okay. I'd rather have that cute girl over there and do this, play sports. But I didn't want to be a poet. But the older people could see something that I did not see or did not want to see. So after losing my mother at 10, and my father declined me like a credit card a week later and said, I can't deal with you. So I was pretty much without parents at the age of 10. And not only that, they took my home and sent me far away. So I had to start my life all over at the age of 10. And 8 years later, I was giving a writer's scholarship to one of the most wealthiest colleges in the United States. And I look back and say, if that 10-year-old boy could have that kind of faith, what could we do as adults if we just believe? So I am going to read a poem I wrote for Sharon. Sharon inspired me as well. Shannon knows her very well. They go back very far. And I've reached well over 1 million people with poetry. But when a woman came to me and said, I have breast cancer, she said, I want you to talk to me and hear me and chat with me for a few months. And I'm going to tell you all of the things I experienced. And I want you to write a poem about it. I don't want to do that, but God said, do it. This is my calling when people give me this input. So I had to experience the hair, the chemo, all of the mistakes, all of that. She started giving me this input, and being a poet is a tough job. So I tried to write the poem the best I could, and it became my first international poem that went worldwide. So I'm turning on the computer, and I'm seeing people in Israel and Germany and Africa and France all talking about this poem at the same time. And I was in shock that a poem could get the entire world to finally agree on something, that we have something in common, the pain of cancer. I don't care what country or state or island you're on, this is something familiar to you. So that made me an international poet for the first time, answering the calling for people with cancer. I wrote a second poem, and that was called A Poem for Sharon, which I'm going to share at this time. And one time she came over to the house with a packet, and they asked her to pick the casket before she had even passed. And she was like, I need to pick this. And that was so dramatic for me. How does a human being have the courage to pick a casket before they even pass away? But I tell you, nobody fought the battle like Sharon did. She fought, and that courage gave me a lot of courage. And so the thing is, we're not going to wait until the doctor gives us a notice. We're going to live now. So tomorrow morning, live double, live triple, or quadruple, and go pursue your dreams. So this is the poem I wrote for Sharon, called 38. Hallmark has 1 million cards in their catalog, and not one of them says life sucks. American Greetings has nothing that says 38 and you're never coming home. So I hope it's not too late to write this poem. After your 8th round of chemo, the doctor says the best medicine is prayer. And any pre-med dropout or high school health student can interpret what this means, but it still isn't fair. Still, who am I to be a pessimist? And I apologize for screaming at your surgeons, telling them to stop comparing your tumors to fruit, for telling them that you aren't a damn fruit stand, and even for tossing those diagrams in the hazmat can. I'm sorry I let things get out of hand. Next week, they get to pull out their zapper instruments and shoot at your cells like you are one of those Nintendo video games over and over again. And I get to sit in the waiting room, hoping the red cell surrenders and the white ones win. And Tylenol has $1 zillion and can't even find a cure for cancer. Bayer Pharmaceuticals has no answer. And if you die at 38, I'll probably boycott Tylenol for the next 23 years and Advil for the next 22, blaming both of them for not saving you. And 40 calls to Bayer Pharmaceuticals and not one single call returned. What kind of heroes are they? And I'm pissed off at Obama and Dr. Phil and Oprah too, and all the nationally syndicated talk show hosts who are talking about who slept with who when they should be talking about you. And I'm also ticked off at 1,000 Nazis and 20 million gangbangers, pedophiles and serial killers who have good working organs when all you need is one. Still, I know you wouldn't even accept it even if there was a law that said you could. And you would say something corny like, God loves bad people as much as he does the good. And if I could snatch half of my lymph nodes out and give them to you, I would. But no doctor would ever approve the surgery. So what else can I do except write this poem for you? Except watch you lose weight and hair and listen to doctors recommend prayer. And more chemo only means more Kodak moments at the hospital and more crying and more dying, more doctors and chaplains lying. But mostly I'll never get to figure out how it took you 30 minutes at Build a Yogurt in the mall and they only had 6 flavors. Even after I told you chocolate coconut sprinkle was really the best of all. Tonight, your children get to sleep in your bed and pretend you're coming home. And I get to cry for them and hope to finish this corny poem. Thank you, Sharon. Welcome home. That was the poem I wrote for Sharon. And so just want to thank you and leave you all with positive vibrations. And basically, no matter what we're going through, the key is living. So again, when you open your door tomorrow morning, I want you to put on your running shoes and live, live, and live. Thank you, Shannon, for inviting me. It's been a beautiful experience. And I do want to show you, this is my my book. This is a novel that I wrote called Dear Oprah. It's a 200-page rhyming novel, and this is my poetry book. They asked me to come to Howard, and I've been invited all over the world to do poetry, but I stay here in this area where I can help, you know, the youth, the homeless, and other people that need me as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Michael, for coming again. And as he said, Sharon is a friend of both of ours. Our children grew up together and in Fremont in the Bay Area. So we lived and grew up together. We were the neighborhood moms of Baywood, as they would call. And her and I, you know, was putting Survive and Thrive together because she was first diagnosed and I was there supporting her. So cancer journey didn't start for me, just for me. It started with someone else. And then when the years came past, because she battled for 6 years, and I told her that I was diagnosed, and it was like, she was like, oh no, not you. And so she was there with me through surgery, through treatment. And I got a couple videos. You could see her recording me while I'm getting blood work done. So she would do blood work on the first one day, and then I'd do mine on the next day. And, but being there with her on her last days, was great. It was a great opportunity to see and be there with her. And she's a funny bird type. She's like, she saw me, she was like, what are you doing here? Because, you know, I work all the time, but she said, what are you doing here? I said, I'm sitting with you. That's what I'm doing. I'm just sitting here. And I said, well, you know, you just lay down and I'll just sit right here. And those were, you know, within that next day, she passed away. So being able to be there with her for 2 days and just be there with her was definitely a blessing and opportunity to be there and, you know, see her through it. And then 2, she was there to come to the first Survive and Thrive, but during the planning of the second one, she passed away. And so, you know, I always told her I would continue to do this, even though during these planning sessions, a lot of you guys know who be on the committee, I'd be like, okay, yeah, Survive and Thrive, let's do this. But I kept going after, now we here 5 years. Continuing to do the work, continuing to do it, growing, developing. You know, it's not the best thing going, but we are getting good at it each and every time. And I got a great team of folks who've been helping. A lot of you guys who are my sponsors, folks who have just withstood all the different things you see me posting and asking and talking about. But cancer is one of those things that impact so many. It impacts so many lives. And we want to be able to help those to survive and thrive, and not just survive it, but thrive it. I also want to just kind of mention Alicia Perry here, and she kind of just skirted in, but Alicia is the director of 3 Seeds, and I was the president at one point. Now I moved into the vice president chair, but she was there. She was my neighbor, and our kids and sons, they know each other and grew up together. And when I was going through chemo, she would bring me ginger ale all the time. And, for those who know me, I kind of just do my thing and mind my business. But she brought me ginger ale, and that was a wonderful thing that most folks who know ginger ale was just a good thing to keep you from being nauseous. And she would just bring me bottles to the door, and I would, drag myself up and get onto the door, and, bald head and all, because I just wore it. I didn't wear a wig. I was like, yeah, ask me what's going on so I could tell you, as they say, the song we had playing, let me tell you about my Jesus. And so it was good. And I definitely want to appreciate her for coming and being here with us today.
All right, let me introduce our next speaker, Leroy Allen, who is the president of Life Enhancement Consulting Group and program director for Life Enhancement Coaching Institute. Transitioned into coaching and consulting in 2012 after his 11-year career as a financial advisor.
All right. First of all, I want to say thank you very much to Shannon. Shannon, you are doing not just a work, but you're doing a great work. And so I believe I speak not just for myself. I believe I speak for all of the speakers, all of the guests, and all of the sponsors. You are doing something, obviously, that's bigger than all of us. And so in that, I say thank you very much. And I say hello to all of the speakers, all of the sponsors, and all of the guests who are in your mix this evening. And so it's indeed a pleasure to be here. How many of you, by a show of hands, have seen or heard of the popular TV game show, The Price is Right? You can just wave your hand, as they say, like you just don't care. If it's one thing that inspires me about The Price is Right, the popular TV game show, The Price is Right, it is when the public announcer says, Judith McGee, come on down. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right. Because he says it with such passion and with such enthusiasm that the contestant has no other choice but to believe that they're not just there for a moment. They're there to have an experience, and an experience of a lifetime. It reminds me so much of you and I this evening. You and I didn't just come to have a moment at the 5th annual Cancer Recovery Conference. We didn't just come to have a moment. We came to have what I call a lifetime achievement experience. I would also like to introduce you to another popular TV game show called Unplugged Potential. Just as there are risks versus rewards with The Price is Right, so are there risks and rewards with the popular TV game show Unplugged Potential. I would also have you to know that without risks, there is no opportunity. So if everybody can write in the comments section, without risks, there is no opportunity. Without risks, there is no opportunity. I would also like to bring to your attention a particular term that we use in the field of counseling called arrested development. Arrested development. Arrested development is defined as an uninvited particular person, place, or thing that has entered into your life to put a stronghold on your progress towards reaching your highest and best potential. It is an uninvited particular person, place, or thing that has entered into your life to put a stronghold on your progress of reaching your highest and best potential. As relates to reaching your highest and best potential, it is indeed a fact that there is an enemy that comes to rob you of reaching your highest and best potential. And that enemy is yesterday's success. Yesterday's success. Therefore, I encourage you this evening to take your successes and put them in a file cabinet and visit those successes as needed. Because those successes, believe it or not, could put a handicap on your ability to move into your next. And no matter what the situation looks like, no matter who says what, no matter who does what, you will always have a next. The question is, what does your next look like? What does your next look like? In fact, I want to encourage you to write that in the comment section here this evening. What does my next look like, and how am I going to get there? What does your next look like? Because you got a next. It's one thing to allow a particular situation or circumstance to put a period behind your name. It's another thing to allow it to put a comma behind your name. And what does a comma do? A comma indicates a pause. It indicates a pause. So what is your next, and what does your next look like? Having said that, are y'all ready to make some money? You can just put your thumbs up, throw your hands in the air, one or the other. Are y'all ready to make some money? Because we're going to play a game. I'm going to shift screens to some slides that I have, and you're going to see how all this connects together as it relates to the popular TV game show, Unplugged Potential. Unplugged Potential. Today is the day that you're going to unplug the potential that's down on the inside of you. What does unplugged potential mean? Unplugged potential is what you haven't done yet. Unplugged potential is that power, that purpose, that skill, that talent that lies dormant down on the inside of you that you haven't tapped into yet. So there's always going to be a next where you are concerned. The question is, what does your next look like? And how bad do you want it moving forward? You will see that behind every door to the game of unplugged potential, there's a value added benefit, meaning that you have the opportunity to win cash money. In fact, I would like for everybody to write in the comment section an I statement, and that I statement is, I am a value added benefit. I am a value added benefit. The first door is self-concept, what you believe about you. No matter what the situation, no matter what the circumstances, the question is, what do you believe about you? If it's one thing that this pandemic has done for me, it has allowed me to take a look at my belief system and what I believed about me and what I believe God was saying about me, with a clear-cut understanding that my core values are attached to what I believe about me and my belief system. So the question is, what do you believe about you? No matter what the situation is, no matter who said what, no matter who did what, no matter who came, no matter who left, the question will always come to be, what do you believe about you? And what is that worth? That's worth $5,000. It's worth $5,000. And it's not a person in the room or in the room this evening who could not use $5,000. And if you were to say that, I got more than enough money, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to take yours and mine too. And I'll be excited about counting it. So behind the first door is self-concept again. What do you believe about you? It's critical that you put yourself in a position to be able to take a look at your belief system only to discover what's important to you. Let's take a look at the next door. Behind the second door is self-knowledge, what you know about you. If it's one thing is for certain and two things is for sure. When you get up in the morning, just like myself, you get up in the morning to you. When you go to bed at night, you go to bed at night to you. I recall a friend of mine saying unto me not very long ago that he was going to divorce his wife. A question. I said, where are you going? He said, I have not decided. I said, well, then that's more the reason why you should stay. I said, because wherever you go, you're taking you with you. And regardless of what the problem is, perhaps you're at least 60 to 70% a part of it. I also serve as a transformational life coach as well as a business coach. And in summary, I always ask my clients, could it be that things are the way they are for you because you are the way you are with you? Why? Because it all starts with you and it all ends with you. So self-knowledge, what do you know about you and what are you doing in your recourse of living to find out a little more about you? Because if you don't know all that there is to know about you, you cannot offer you to somebody else, which is one of the challenges and one of the problems that my friend had who was seeking to get a divorce. He didn't realize that wherever he went, he was taking him with him. And what is that worth? $10,000. So there's a value added benefit to everything that there is to know about you. And it all starts with you and it all ends with you. There's a value added benefit where you are concerned. And nothing in the world can talk you out of knowing you. Nothing can talk you out of knowing you. So embrace that and be willing to answer that question 365 days of the year. What do you know about you? As the saying says, how are you going to love somebody if you don't first love yourself? Let's move to the next slide. Behind the third door is self-esteem, what you feel about you. And what is that worth? The value added benefit to that is $15,000. What do you feel about you? Oftentimes when we talk about goal attainment, I often ask clients to tell me of a goal, a particular goal, that they had an opportunity to achieve that made them feel good. That made them feel good. Because in asking them to do that, it gives me an opportunity to void all excuses of them not tapping into their highest and best potential. It gives me an opportunity to void all excuses. Because normally when a person feels good about a particular person, place, or thing, they're willing to talk about it. They're willing to laugh about it because there's a sense of excitement that comes with it. So therefore, I encourage you that whatever it is that excites you, I encourage you to keep it in front of you. If it's the pursuit of higher education, keep it in front of you. If it's the pursuit of a special relationship, keep it in front of you. If it's the pursuit of buying a new house, writing a new book, keep it in front of you. Keep that process in front of you. Why? Because it makes you feel some kind of way, which in return will elevate your self-esteem. It will elevate your self-esteem. And you have to believe that and receive that you are entitled to feel good about you. You don't have to get permission to feel good about you. That comes as an entitlement to feel good about you. And whether it's you or myself, we shouldn't have to depend on somebody else to make us feel good. The fact that God woke me up this morning was enough to make me feel good. The fact that he allowed me to, eat a meal today was enough to make me feel good. And I'm sure you would agree with that. And what is the value added benefit to that? $15,000. Let's move a little step further. Behind the fourth door, self-image, resulting from how individuals see you. And what is that worth? $20,000. Self-image. What is it that you see? What does your ideal self look like? What does your ideal self look like? What does your ideal business look like? What does your ideal relationship look like? remember, one of the things that I said is that there will always be a next concerning you. There's a familiar quote that you and I are in agreement with, where it is said, there is more to me than what you see. There is more. There is more. The question is, what does more mean to you? Not what it means to the next door neighbor, not what it means to your boss, not what it means to the people that are on your team, but what does more look like to you? How do you define more? In fact, I would ask everybody to write in the comment section, what does my more look like? And how do you define it in the comment section? And again, the value added benefit to you discovering you as relates to your self-image is $20,000. $20,000. So thus far, we went from self-concept to self-knowledge to self-esteem, and now we're looking at self-image. Self-image. Each door serves as a connecting bridge to a bigger prize called the 4-drive model of unplugged potential. And what is potential again? Unplugged potential, rather. Unplugged potential is what you haven't done yet. Unplugged potential is that power, that purpose, that skill, that talent that's lying dormant down on the inside of you that you haven't tapped into yet. Therefore, it has to be a next. And again, the greatest enemy to you unplugging your potential is yesterday's success. Yesterday's success. If it's one thing that this pandemic has shown me, and shown me quite clearly, is that one, my successes, or the same thing that got me to, and perhaps even you, to that $100,000 a year job, is not the thing that's going to keep me there. Therefore, I'm also in a position to be able to share with you that the norms that you were once acquainted with are no more a part of your life, whatever those normals were. Because you see, whether it's you or myself, you and I cannot just navigate through life and through business, through relationships, just based on perception alone. Nah, that doesn't work like that. Because perception is nothing more than information and data that appear before you. And in some cases, it is information and data that has appeared before you, not once, not twice, but maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times. What I am asking you to do is to take your perception and merge it together with your perspective. Why? Because your perspective is the thing that aids your vision. And what is a vision? A vision is an image of a coming attraction. I am a movie person. I love going to the movies. I love sitting up in the theater with a box of popcorn laid with butter and a fruit punch and Sprite mix. I just love it. And so there are coming attractions that are shown before the main attraction. And the reason why they show those coming attractions is to appeal to your emotional and logical appeal, to put you in a position to say what's next. To put you in a position to say what's next. So again, behind each door serves a connecting bridge to a bigger prize called the 4-drive model of unplugged potential. Behind the first door is the drive to acquire. And the value added benefit behind that door is worth $20,000. The drive to acquire. All of us desire to acquire something significant, something unique in our lives right now, here today. And you know how I know? Because all of us are here today with a presence and with a smile on our face, as Shannon does not just a work, but a great and mighty work through the 5th annual Cancer Recovery Conference, the drive to acquire. So all of us, not a person under the sound of my voice doesn't possess the drive to acquire something different and something more exciting for our lives. On the second door, the drive to learn. If it's one thing that I know as an entrepreneur, it is that I am positioned to solve problems. I get paid to solve problems. You get paid to solve problems. And guess what? We get paid big money to do so. So the drive to learn, and that same effort to take on the mindset of a leader and an entrepreneur, guess what? I have come to the understanding, and so have you, that I am a lifetime learner. I'm a lifetime learner because I recognize that the unplugged potential that's down on the inside of me has yet to be disclosed. And what is the value added benefit to the drive to learn? $40,000. It's worth $40,000. And again, you are a value added benefit to anybody who come in contact with you, and on any platform that you share in. You have to embrace the fact that you are a value added benefit. The drive to acquire, or the drive to learn, I'm sorry. Behind the third door, the drive to bond, which is what we're doing today. We're bonding, we're networking, we're getting to know something about each other. There are things that have been said from yesterday till today that I didn't know about a particular person, and a particular person didn't know certain things concerning me. But what do we have? We have the drive to bond. We have the drive to network. We have the drive to relate to others. We have the drive right now to embrace what I call a chance. When the conference is over, we all will have a shared experience, thanks be to the good and great work of Shannon Griffin. So the drive to bond. So that's there. We're always looking for new and exciting people that we can draw from. In fact, there's a familiar quote that says, if you're the smartest person in the room, you need to change your company. The question comes to be, are you available for new relationships? Are you available for bonding? Are you available to serve from the mindset and from the aspect of a servant leader, which is to put the interests of others above your own? Are you geared like that? Are you wired like that? What does a healthy relationship look like to you? How about that? What does a healthy relationship look like to you? And because that's what bonding is all about. It's all about relating. It's all about, seeing how I could be of a benefit where you are concerned, and remove me out of the picture if we had to look at it and look at it real clearly. Behind the third door again is the drive to bond. And what is that worth? A value added benefit of $60,000. Money come to me now, and money come to you as well. Behind the fourth door is the drive to defend, with a value added benefit of $80,000. The drive to defend. All of us carry a drive to defend, in particular, for those of us who have children. Mess with somebody's child and you'll see what a drive to defend looks like. One of my friends is a school teacher. And one of the things that he shared with me, he said, before the pandemic, he said, when students would get in trouble and we would request that their parents come, there would be some parents who would try to deny the fact that their children did something wrong. And primarily because it's in their nature to defend their child. He said, but now that the children are home, I'm kind of glad that they are home, because now the parents can get to know what perhaps they didn't know about their own child. So then you can't make up excuses about what the child did, be it right or be it wrong. You have to embrace that child, because that child is yours. And then he said to me, and now it gives the parent an opportunity to see that the child is a reproduction after its own kind, be it the parent. But he said the parents would literally curse him out because he's telling them something about their child. And a child wrong on all fronts. They ain't do homework in 2-3 weeks. They ain't studying for exams. And you want them to pass? He said, no. He said, in this life, there's a part of me even if it's a small part of me, they're glad they're home with their parents. Because if you got to defend them when they're wrong, you need to be certain that, you defend them when they're right there doing it in your face. That's exactly what he told me in that. So all of us carry the drive to defend. If it's one takeaway that I would encourage you to take away from this moment that you and I share, it is this: there is absolutely nothing. Well, it's two takeaways. I take that back. The first takeaway is there is absolutely nothing more important than you. In fact, if you would write in the comments section, there is absolutely nothing more important than me. So somebody asks you, what's more important to you? I encourage you to tell them absolutely nothing. Who is more important to you? I encourage you to tell them absolutely nothing. And the second takeaway that I would ask you to take away with you is this: there is absolutely nothing in between you obtaining your aspirations and your goals, but opportunity, time, and space. Opportunity, time, and space. I would ask you again to write that in the comment section. There is absolutely nothing in between me obtaining my aspirations and my goals, but opportunity, time, and space. Give me opportunity, time, space, and information, and I will create my own inspiration. Give me information, and I'll create my own inspiration with a clear-cut understanding. And I really need everyone under the sound of my voice to catch this. As it relates to your aspirations and your goals, you can't take everybody with you. You can't take everybody with you. There are some people, even if you want them to go, you can't take them with you. Because some people are what we call uninvited guests, or they appear as uninvited guests with the intentions of putting a stronghold on our progress, which is again the definition that we. Yep. Again, I want to give special thanks to Shannon for great work that she's done. Give special thanks to the other speakers, the audience, the sponsors for a job well done. And Shannon, again, and Latina as well. Shannon and Latina, for the work that you have exposed us to, that's bigger than all of us. It is my prayer to God that God blesses all the works of your hands moving forward, that everything that you touch will prosper. And I mean that from the heart, because this is bigger. And as Michael said, over the years, anybody who has passed in my family as well, it's been cancer related in some kind of way or another. And so again, Shannon and Latina, you all have done not just a work, you have done a great and mighty work, and that cannot be denied. That cannot be denied. So I encourage and I inspire you to continue to do what you're doing, because what you're doing obviously is bigger than all of us. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Leroy. Gave me some chills, and I definitely took my notes. So we have some big announcements for Survive and Thrive in 2022, and I'm excited to share a little bit later. Further ado, I want to introduce our next speaker, Rashonda Mack. After battling breast cancer in 2012, Rashonda had a fire burning from within. She has been sharing her story and advocating with the American Cancer Society events and abroad. Her passion is to help those in need. Rashonda, take the floor.
Good evening. I tell you, I was hoping and praying. I knew that we got the itinerary in our lineup, but I was really hoping I didn't go after Michael Ellis, because after that poem, something stirred up in me and I just could not keep my cool over here. I even shed a little tear, low key. There was so much that I took away from that. Thank you for sharing that, Mr. Ellis, and Mr. Leroy. Thank you so much as well. Shannon, thank you so much for this opportunity this evening to come and share my story and hopefully drop some gems for the people that are here this evening. As Latina stated, my name is Rashonda Mack. I am originally from South Carolina. I recently moved here literally in the middle of the pandemic to Orlando, Florida for a promotion in my corporate space for work. I work for a large health insurance enterprise. It's Blue Cross Blue Shield of Florida, better known as Florida Blue. I am a provider solutions advisor where I facilitate trainings for physician groups and also for small ambulatory surgical centers. I come to you today just to encourage you a little bit. I want to share a little bit of my story with you. I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer on November the 1st of 2012. I was very devastated, to say the least. The day of my diagnosis, I had already been to the doctor prior to. I had a lump that I had discovered. I had some family members advising that it may have been something related to caffeine intake, could have been something cystic in that nature. But I wanted to go get it checked because I sleep on my stomach, and when I was laying down one evening, the pain was very excruciating. I went to the emergency room. They did not do a biopsy in the ER. However, I was sent to a surgical center to have that biopsy done. I had that biopsy done in the office. However, the physician did not get enough. The results came back inconclusive. We had to go into an outpatient setting for me to go under anesthesia for them to get more of the tumor. Once they got that tumor and the results came back, I was diagnosed with stage 3 in situ carcinoma. The day of my diagnosis, I was extremely cocky, if you will, because the day that I went in to receive my results, normally, and I've worked in healthcare since I've got out of high school, so normally physicians like to be the one to provide you with any abnormal readings of any sort, unless they're just on vacation and they may have one of their colleagues read it or something like that. However, this particular day when I went into the office to receive my results, my immediate doctor was not there. He was stuck in the ER, not in the ER, he was stuck in the hospital performing a surgery. And I just felt like, oh, well, I think if I am positive with anything bad, my doctor would certainly be the one to want to give me the results. There was another doctor that came in. He looked over my file. I had a good friend of mine with me at the time. And he looked over my file and he wore glasses, and then he took his glasses off and he sat them on the counter, and while he was reading them, he said, So he took his glasses off, and I'm getting a little nervous while he's making all these gestures and everything. And he takes his glasses off and he says to me, Miss Mack, you have stage 3 in situ carcinoma. I'm gonna be completely honest with you all. I don't remember much of what was said after that time. I was in a state of shock. I was so numb to the even thought of it. And immediately after I got my results, my immediate physician walked in. He could tell by the look on my face I had already received my results. I was 33 years old at the time with 3 young children, ages 10, 5, and 3. And I was also the caregiver at the time for my 83-year-old grandfather. I wasn't in a position where I could just not take care of my family. I wasn't in a position where I could just not work. And so this was extremely devastating for me, because the first thing I thought about, who's going to care for my children? Who's going to take care of my grandfather? Because my mother died when I was 13 years old in a head-on collision car accident. So the grandfather that I was caring for was my maternal grandfather, my mother's father, and he had taken care of me from a little girl. And I knew that there was no one else, because my grandmother had already died by this time. I was completely worried for my family. I was worried for myself. I literally couldn't sleep and eat just out of fear. But we know that God is not a God of fear. I had already been a churchgoer. I grew up in church. I've been praying in pulpits since the age of 10. I knew God, but I really didn't find out who God was for my own self until after my diagnosis. I developed a really good relationship with God, literally, because he was all that I had at that time. And so I pressed in and pressed forward at that time to build my spiritual stamina so that I could withstand everything that I was going through at the time. And long story short, I went through 5 rounds of chemotherapy. I had 45 rounds of radiation. It was challenging. You know, I would go into the cancer center and I would see a lot of elderly people in there, literally looking like they were on their way out. And I'm like, God, is this the life that you would have for me? Am I going to die in this circumstance? Am I going to go like this? And the hospital that I was getting treatment at, I actually worked at that hospital at one point in time. And the oncology director, her name was Teresa Chandler. Miss Chandler was the director of the Mulberry Cancer Center located in Orangeburg, South Carolina. And she called me into her office one day while I was waiting in the waiting area for my treatment. And she said something to me. She said, normally when you come in for treatment, she said, you know, you have this smile on your face. You're always uplifted and upbeat. She said, I don't see you in that space today. Is everything all right with you? And I began crying. I mean, I was just so tired of just going in there, just getting these treatments and being around all of these old people, just feeling like I'm getting ready to die. And she sat me down and she told me, she said, Rashonda, what you're going through is not just for you. What you're going through is to be able to help other people. I couldn't understand it then. She even told me, she was a registered nurse. She had a daughter that was also a registered nurse. And she told me that she had even questioned God, like, why would you allow my daughter? I care for people every day, God, in this cancer center. I take care of them. I encourage them. I help them every single day. She said, why would you allow my own daughter, my own flesh and blood, my own bloodline to get diagnosed with cancer? She said, it was so devastating for me. She said, I even lost faith in God. She said, but when my faith got back, she said, I must pass this on to you. She said, what you're going through is not just for you. She said, this is for you to be able to share your story, share the goodness of God, help other people to overcome and to reach back. I will stop right there. I would like to give a quick message to you all today. I want to bring up the mindset of a thriver. And we talk about mindset. Mindset is an established set of attitudes held by someone. The nature of the mindset can be a stem from habits of the mind. It could be created by experiences. It can be developed. It can be shaped by our world. It can be shaped by our lives. They are self-deceptive. They create blind spots, and they can be transcended. I want to leave a scripture with you for just a moment. And it comes from Romans 12:2. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your minds. The thing about our mind is, once we can get our mind in a place of peace, a mindset of contentment, our body will follow. I've heard some women on yesterday speak about, you know, how your body will line up according to your mind. Your mindset is everything in in progressing your healing. And I had to change and I had to shift my mindset because I knew that God had more for me to do. And I knew that God would not start something in my life and would not complete it. I'll take you to Philippians 1:6, where he says, be confident of this very thing, that he that have begun a good work in you shall complete it until the day of Jesus Christ. I want to say we can't be a survivor without being a victim. We had to have gone through something in order to get to a survivorship mode. Now that we have survived, it is time for us to thrive. We will thrive in various ways. God has not allowed us to go through different circumstances to lie idle in our mindset, to lie idle in our gifting, to lie idle in the work that he has called us to do. I encourage you to have a thriver's mindset. A thriver's mindset, it allows you to show up as a powerful giver. It allows you to believe that you have the power, you have the skill, you have the experience, you have the difference. You are the difference, and you're willing to put others in front of yourself. I'll tell you some traits of a person that has a mind, a thriving mind. A thriving mind is a person that has the ability to go out and not only use their issue, so to speak, they will use that issue to catapult them to another level. You can do these things by one, you can join a support group. You could also change the way you eat, healthy food choices. You can also build your spiritual stamina. You could also write a book about your triumph. Start a 501c3 to give back like Shannon has done to other support groups. You could become a motivational speaker. You could partner with American Cancer Society. You could partner with Relay for Life. You could simply share your story. You could reach back to help other survivors in need. And I'll tell you today, what are you doing to thrive? We have elevated from a place of survivorship. God has allowed us to overcome every obstacle, every situation that we have gone through. I encourage each of you today to simply thrive. And that is all I have to say today, Shannon. Thank you for the opportunity.
Rashonda, that was powerful. Thank you so much. Elaine, I'm gonna allow you to jump right in and give your presentation to our wonderful group today. The floor is all yours.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much, Latina. Thank you, Shannon. I've been doing Survive and Thrive for the last 5 years. I missed 1 year. I did not go to Houston, but I remember when I met Shannon back in 2017, and she said she was having Survive and Thrive. I picked up myself from New York and flew to California. And I think it was the second year I brought my son with me because it's around his birthday. So we got up and we flew to California. So yes, it was fun I'm looking forward to when we get back to the live, the in-person, I should say the in-person. So I'm going to just jump right into my little spiel for today. And then I'll introduce myself somewhere along the line, but I'll do it before the end. So let's face it, talking about money isn't comfortable. And we can all acknowledge that. If you're not religious, I do apologize for this, but the Bible mentioned money 800 times and referred to finance over 2,000 times. That tells me that a great deal was given to financial matter. We can all agree that our financial lives impact other area of our lives, whether it be physical, emotional, or spiritual. So today I want to share a little of my story of how my finance has impacted my life. It was November 27, 2007. I lived at Academy Street, which you all won't care about, Academy Street, Poughkeepsie, New York. I owned a business and run an adult foster care. Life at that time had been good. to that point, or so I actually thought. Growing up, I always wanted to be a successful business owner and be financially independent. From the looks of things, I was on my way. By this time, I hold a BA in public accounting and accumulated over 18 years of working experience in accounting. I thought everything was good. I thought I knew how to manage my money. I thought I was disciplined in managing my money. On the outside, everything looks perfect. But November 2007, like the flip of a switch, everything I'd worked for, the financial house that I was building, start crumbling. It was all gone. The income, the house, the future, the dream. To this day, I cannot find word to explain how I felt that Friday evening. I felt empty. How's the bills? How am I going to pay my bills? I asked myself. I have two kids, two young kids at that point. But the fear of not knowing where or how I was going to take care of these kids paralyzed me. It took me a couple of years later to learn that money is a tool. And if you have a tool, you have to understand and know how to manage that tool, how to use that tool to get the results that you're looking for. So I start on a journey to build my financial literacy, even though I was an accountant for over, at that point, 18 years. I learned the hard way that even though I was able to manage people money, I was not managing my own. And I want to leave this evening, I don't want to be very long, is that about financial discipline. I want to leave 5 things that I've learned and I've started to practice. Discipline is developing through habits. And habits, they say, take 21 days to form, 66 days to become a routine, and 90 days to become a lifestyle. When you're disciplined, it means it doesn't matter what happened, you're going to do it. But what is more important is self-discipline. Because to develop your discipline, you can get somebody, you can hire a coach, you can hire a mentor, you can hire someone to help you become disciplined. But when it comes to self-discipline, you yourself take the initiative, has the ability to do what it takes to get the results that you need. Most of us are lacking, not just in financial discipline, but financial self-discipline. So I want to share 5 things with you. When you think about your financial discipline, remove the temptation. If you decide that you want to save, don't rely on yourself to do that saving. Automate your saving. Number 2, do not put your money in a bank that you call your saving, where you can just drive to the bank and take that money. Put that money where it's not easily accessible. Remove the temptation. It might mean putting a plan in place to remove certain temptation. So that's number 1, remove the temptation. Number 2 is that we've gone to many seminars. We've heard, many things spoken about money. And the first thing we say is that I'm going to wait until the right time. The time is never right. Don't wait for the right time or when you're in the right mood. Start exactly where you are. Some people it is recommended to start with 5% saving, 10%. If you don't have 5%, if you don't have 10%, start where you are. Start with $1. Start with 10 cents. Start with 5 cents. And it might sound very trivial to say start that low, but the thing is, building that discipline and that habit is what is more important than actually the amount that you are going to save. Do not procrastinate when it comes to financial decision. So we say start with where you are. The next thing is set achievable goal. I know I did it. I don't know if any of you have done it, but I've done it. Oh, I want to make $10,000, but yet I do not have the capacity to make $10,000. Or I'm going to save $6,000, and yet I do not have the capacity to save $6,000. Start with achievable goal. Start with $50. I want to save $50. A couple of years ago, I did a savings challenge. What it was, you were saving $1 each week and compounding $1. It was cheaper for most people because they were able to save $1. Or start with, I'm going to save every $5. It's achievable. How much time? Or I'm just going to save my change. Set achievable goal, something that you know that you can achieve. Because once you achieve that goal, you're going to feel good. A speaker before me talk about the self-esteem of how you feel when you achieve a goal. So that's why we say set achievable goal. And the fourth thing is think long-term. Now, a lot of people says, but I don't have it now. Think long-term. Set a plan for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Sit down and put 3 goals in place. Whether it's a short term, intermediate, and long term. Think about those goals as income, savings, and investment, retirement. Think long term. Don't just think about what is going to happen today, tomorrow, or in a month, but think about long term. And number 5 is do it a little bit at a time. Progressively build a production routine. Do it. Listen, I can tell you that has changed how I think about a lot of things. And one of the things I did is to do small bits at a time. So I also want to share with you some financial terms, and then I'm going to so cash flow. Cash flow is money coming in. Expense is money going out. Assets are things that generate more cash flow. Liabilities are money that you owe. And I want to say there are 3 types of economic status. 1, you have people who are broke. You have people who are middle class and people who are rich. And I want to apply the cash flow, expense, assets, and liability. People who are broke gets cash flow, or everybody gets cash flow. The people who are broke, they incur expenses. So they're always spending. They spend more than they receive. People who are middle class, they accumulate liabilities. So they make a little bit more money. They invest in cars, whatever the things that make their life much better. So now they have credit, so that now they take these things in credit. So now they're paying out for liabilities. People who are rich invest in assets. They buy things that are going to generate cash flow. It took me a couple of years to get this concept together. So today I want to share that concept with you. And I do hope that you can take that concept, apply it to your life, and next time you can see the results or the goals you achieve. I am Elaine Forbes Daisley, otherwise known as the Elaine Forbes. I'm an accountant, an author, and a speaker. and I help business owner to eliminate the frustration of bookkeeping, and I help you to manage your finances. Thank you so much, Shannon. Thank you, Latina. It's always great to be at the Survive and Thrive, and that's my contribution today.
Thank you, Elaine. I'm so glad you were able to make it again this year. But thank you, everyone, for coming. And we would like to ask for donations at this time. The goal is to fundraise $10,000 this year. We have until December 31st to make that happen. So if you don't share today, please share out with your network